I know I said in the other videos that Raven and Robin probably had the most screwed up childhoods, but I think it's quite likely that Beast Boy has the most screwed up childhood. Of the entire team, he might actually be the most emotionally damaged, largely due to his complete inability to deal with his emotional damage. Behind the green eyes and the green skin, Beast Boy is a complete psychological mess. Let's just look a bit at his childhood. So I think his parents were killed by poachers in Africa, and he was injected with some sort of thing that turned him green and let him transform into animals. He was then ranged by Mento and the Doom Patrol, who are all crazy. They're all completely Looney Tunes. Now, the Doom Patrol, for those of you who don't know, which is the uniform that Beast Boy always wears, is a group of superheroes who are basically the freaks of nature. They all have gained their superpowers in extremely um, horrific ways that have destroyed their bodies, that have reduced them to freaks of nature in constant pain, and they want to die. And the Doom Patrol is basically called the Doom Patrol because the hope is that they will die during their missions, so they take the missions that no one else will. So Beast Boy was raised by those guys because, well, he's a freak of nature. And deep down, I think part of him does have a death drive. Um, and the screwed up thing about him, the thing that makes him really disturbing as a character, is he doesn't display this almost never. Um, he doesn't he doesn't hasn't seemed to have come to terms with anything. He pretends his childhood didn't happen at all. He just completely hides it. He hides everything behind humor, behind attempts to be funny, behind attempts to flirt and be cool, playing video games, eating food, etc. Um, he's completely unwilling to deal with any of his issues. And it's going to be really scary to see the day that he snaps. While we dealt with some of them in the last season of Teen Titans, as evidenced by things change, I think Beast Boy really hasn't come to terms with his past. The betrayal of Terra really hurt him hard, because much like Raven, he's used to being rejected by people his entire life. In a sense, his parents' death is kind of to some extent a rejection of him by his parents. His parents left him. His foster parents kicked him out. Um, or I forget the exact circumstances, but he had to leave them. Unlike the other heroes on the team, he doesn't look like a normal person. If Robin ever wanted to, he could just take off his mask, go to some random part of the world, and be normal. Raven doesn't look normal, but she just looks like a beautiful woman, and I doubt anyone would ever give her trouble for that. Starfire is like a busty alien goddess, so she doesn't really have any trouble in that area. And I guess Cyborg has trouble in that area, but he seems to be okay with it. But Beast Boy really would have trouble going back into normal society. He wouldn't even know how to go into normal society. And of all the characters, he spent the least time around normal people. I don't know if he's ever really lived in a city before. He's just kind of yeah. I just checked it. In the episode where they in Go the prequel episode that should have been the first episode where they go back and explain how everybody met. Beast Boy says he hasn't hung out with anyone since the Doom Patrol. Yeah, those crazy guys who take suicide missions. So that's kind of Beast Boy's background. He's a complete psychological mess, but he hides it all behind a smile and joking and trying to make friends and flirting. It's really creepy. Um, yeah. So in a sense, it's interesting because he kind of has a thing for Raven. I'm not really sure why. It might be that aside from the fact that Raven's kind of gorgeous and he's a teenage boy, and Raven wears like a skin tight leotard that shows off her assets. Aside from that obvious fact, maybe he sees in her um, something of what he wished he could do. Because Raven doesn't hide from her problems. She represses them to a certain extent. She takes dramatic. She basically self-lobotomizes herself to deal with them. But she does actually face her problems, and she does take responsibility for them. And maybe to some extent, Beast Boy respects that in her. He respects that she is just that strong, and he kind of wishes that he could be that strong. That he could be that confident, could be that stable, that balanced, because he can't. He has to hide behind his humor. He has to hide behind his Overall, though, I think over the course of the series, Beast Boy does grow and mature and change a lot. He still hasn't faced his issues, but he's gotten a lot stronger. He's learned a bit more how to deal with rejection, and he has some real friends for the first time in his life who are a positive influence on him. Although I don't think him and Robin really get along at all, because they have completely opposite personalities, etc. Anyways, I didn't have too much to say about Beast Boy because so much of him is below the surface, and I think he receives the least development of the characters on the show, which is kind of a shame because there's a lot of potential there. He gets a fair amount of time in season 4 and 5, but he is generally speaking the least effective member of the team, and I would say probably the weakest, despite the fact that Robin doesn't have superpowers. That's my thoughts on the matter. This is Argent Templar signing out.